All right, so if I asked you where to find the secrets to modern digital marketing, you'd probably say Silicon Valley, right? Well, today we're going somewhere a little different. We're headed to an art gallery. I know, sounds kind of strange, but stick with me. It turns out the timeless rules for grabbing someone's attention, they've been hanging on gallery walls for centuries. So, what's the big connection here? I mean, really, what can a painting from 100 years ago possibly teach us about making a viral ad or a landing page that actually converts? Well, as we're about to see, that link is way closer than you'd ever guess. And to figure this all out, we're actually going to follow a group of MSc Digital Marketing students from Dublin Business School. They went on this super unique field trip. See, they weren't there just to look at pretty pictures. They were on a mission to decode art for modern day marketing. Yeah, this was definitely not your typical lecture. I mean, forget PowerPoint slides and dusty textbooks for a second. Their classroom, the quiet, echoing halls of a national museum. And their teachers? Master painters who've been dead for decades. Pretty cool, right? And their goal was, simple, but also kind of profound. They were there to find these universal rules of visual communication. Like, how do you actually grab someone's attention? How do you tell a whole story without saying a single word? How do you create a feeling that just sticks with someone? All the answers were right there, captured in oil and canvas. Okay, so our first case study is one of Ireland's most celebrated artists, a guy named Jack B. Yeats. And his work, wow, it is just an absolute explosion of energy, color, and story. Just take a look at this piece. It's totally bustling with life, right? It's chaotic, and yet it completely pulls you in. You've got dozens of things happening all at once. Now, doesn't that sound an awful lot like your social media feed? The challenge for the artist and for you as a marketer is exactly the same. How do you bring some order to all that chaos? So how does he pull it off? Well, Yeats uses this really strong composition to basically create a path for your eye to follow. The super vibrant colors are just screaming for attention, and they create this mood of pure excitement. And by throwing in multiple focal points, he lets you discover new details, these little mini stories, every single time you look. It's a total masterclass in engagement. But okay, what if you're not trying to shout at your audience? What if you want to whisper? Well, for that, we need to turn to another Irish master who had a completely different approach, Louis Le Brocq. And when you put them side by side, the contrast is just incredible. On one side, you have the wild, colorful energy of Yeats, and on the other, the stark, minimalist, and really emotionally heavy world of Le Brocq. Both of them are brilliant at grabbing your attention, but man, they do it in completely opposite ways. Let's zoom in on Le Brocqu's piece here, called A Family. Right away, you notice there's no busy crowd, no bright, flashy colors at all. Instead, you get this powerful, almost haunting mood he creates with just a few simple shapes and a really limited palette. This is all about establishing one single, powerful feeling. And this illustrates the point perfectly. I mean, the museum's own description points out the restricted palette and melancholic tones. Le Brocq isn't trying to tell some complex story with a huge cast of characters. Nope. He's crafting a singular, unforgettable brand mood. And he proves you really don't need to be loud to be heard. You can think of it like this. Yeats, he's your dynamic, super engaging social media campaign. It's full of action, it's about community. Le Brocq, on the other hand, is your powerful brand identity. It's focused, it's emotional, and it's instantly recognizable. So you have two totally different goals and two perfectly executed visual strategies to match. All right, so we've looked at two very, very different artists. So what's the big takeaway for a modern marketer? This is where it all clicks into place. And here it is. This is the core idea. It doesn't matter if you're using oil paints or pixels. It doesn't matter if your canvas is made of linen or it's an iPhone screen. The fundamental principles of how you capture someone's attention and create meaning, they are exactly the same. Because, the human brain, it hasn't really changed. So these timeless principles, they really boil down to four crucial steps. First up, guide the eye. With deliberate composition, you control exactly where a person looks first and where their eye goes next. Step 2, create emotion. Just by using color and tone, you can make someone feel excited or sad or even trusting before they've read a single word. Third, you've got to tell a story. You create a clear, compelling narrative that people can connect with on a human level. And finally, step 4, establish a brand. You do all this with a consistent, recognizable style. Every single great artist and every great marketer absolutely masters these four things.
Okay, let's get even more practical. How do we take these big artistic ideas and translate them directly into the tactics we use in digital marketing every single day?
I mean, the parallels here are just so clear, it's crazy. An artist's mastery of composition, that becomes a web designer's user interface, using visual hierarchy to guide your eye from a headline straight to that Buy Now button. That color theory painters have used for centuries, well, that's the foundation of a modern brand's color palette and all the A/B testing we do to see which ad gets the click. The storytelling you see in a Yeats painting, that's the engine driving today's content marketing and video ads. And creating that deep emotional resonance, the way LeBrocqui does with almost nothing, that is the absolute soul of a powerful brand voice and identity.
Which really leads us to a fascinating thought, doesn't it? Are fine art and commercial advertising really all that different? When you think about it, both are trying to grab our attention, communicate an idea, and get an emotional response from us, all in a super crowded space. And that's the final question I want to leave you with. The next time you're designing a web page, or you're crafting a social media post, or storyboarding a video ad, maybe don't just think like a marketer. Try thinking like a master painter. Thanks so much for joining me.